So I think of it as the ultimate form of flattery, but I never really have gotten fully used to it. You know, we meet fans at shows that if they have a tattoo and they let us know, they usually come meet us at the show. And it's still like a very crazy thing, because I remember being a fan of certain bands where, you know, if I got a tattoo of them and then I could meet them and take a picture, that would like be a highlight of my life.
Hey Wesley, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing well. How are you, Anurag?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Yeah, we're really excited to obviously get the chance to talk to you guys. I think one of the probably first interactions with India, I presume.
Yeah, I think it's one of my first, if not the first interview I've done with someone from India. So this is exciting. We want to
Cool.
play there one day. We want to like actually play there in person. I've talked to some people about doing it, and they rave about.
And of course, one of the first things I want to ask you about was about Vignettes. So, like, I guess one of the first things I wanted to know about that was I saw the video that the video sort of package that came with it, and you talking about those songs and why they were important to you. Uh, I guess what I wanted to know was more in terms of, I guess, the themes, as well as like maybe in terms of like videos, for example, because these are some of these are covers and things. So I just wanted to know what the promo plan is like for now, since it's out.
I think one of the things we did was we shot a lot of behind the scenes things at the studio, and then afterwards performing the songs. And because it's really, we're not sure when we're going to get back out on the road, as a band, for my solo shows as well. So I think right now we try to get some really meaningful and well shot video to accompany this album, so people can kind of get an inside look into what it really sounds like. I think played in a lot of coffee shops and bars, so that's where this album kind of comes from. And so to be able to do that, like someone like, I just saw Bruce Springsteen on Broadway when he had that show, and it kind of reminded me of where he came from, and what he could play a big stadium, but he can also play a very intimate space and it still resonates. And so for me, it's nice to go back to that and remember I had learned a lot along the way, and to use it now. And then just a deep love for these songs, and to try to express that, in these videos. And I think I'd like to do a fundraiser for the Save Our Stages in the US. A lot of our venues are on the brink of closing or have closed. And so I think the idea would be to play like a sort of virtual show where I play the whole album and a couple other songs, and it raises money for those stages, because those are where we got our start, and where we love going back and playing our shows, sometimes to warm up or a secret show. So they're really, really sacred spaces for us.
Wow, incredible, man. And like, since you mentioned that you were playing this album at smaller cafes and things, like I want to know, how does something like that affect or just maybe feed into what you do with the Lumineers, in the sense of when you write like an intimate record, or just like you have a song, or you have a record full of very intimate songs, and then you get on to writing stuff with the Lumineers, like how what do you feel like it's going to be feeding into each other that way?
Yeah, I think that's sort of the trick of the bands that I love, and that translate, I guess, to me, is that their music somehow transcends the room. It doesn't matter if you saw them busking on the streets or you saw them in a stadium. The song can be small in its presentation, but it can still very much resonate. And then it can also be, filling arena or stadium. So in a way, that was always the goal of Lumineers songs, was to not be bound by an instrument or instrumentation. It can work on a lot of different levels, because we really just wanted to write good songs. And so the theme of Vignettes in a lot of ways was just finding these songs that were that kind of, had that DNA, was that sort of prototype where it didn't matter. I felt like I was boiling them down to like almost just the bare essence, these on Vignettes. And I was showing people what something like Sheryl Crow, If It Makes You Happy, the only way you mostly have heard it is really built up and really triumphant sounding, and it's great in that way, and it became this enormous song. But I always felt like there was a sadness there, and it was a beauty to the songwriting that maybe you didn't always recognize, because there were these beautiful things distracting you in the song. And we share that in some ways. Something like Ophelia for us, it has a lot of sadness or loneliness in it, but it sounds really happy and upbeat. Or Ho Hey, I always tell people that I don't tell them if they got. I've heard a lot of people in the U.S. get married and their first dance is to Ho Hey, and I'm hesitant to say it, but I've started telling people because I think it's kind of funny that it was about a breakup, and and they're dancing for the first time about a breakup during a breakup song. But I had heard years and years ago Bono say the same thing about their song One, where he was like, that's a song about someone breaking up with someone and all these people are getting married dancing to it. So there is this thing where when you make a song, the world gets to attach their own meaning to it, which I understand. But I think a lot of that is also, I think it's really fascinating to realize some of the lyrics and some of the storytelling within these songs that it might just wash over you as a feeling. You might miss some of that.
Yeah. And this is like sort of like, I'm just putting together two questions here. One was sort of, one part of it was about just the evolution of the Lumineers' music in general, but also like I wanted to know about the Lumineers' evolution as visual like storytellers, you know, because like your music videos, I think is part of why people, you know, love those songs that they do, like and they have very specifically written characters and just, you know, great direction and things like that. So I guess I wanted to know, yeah, just a little bit about you know, the sonic evolution, and also be like the visual evolution to the extent that, you know, it feels like you know, the Lumineers could make like a whole short film for like, you know, like a music video. They could make a whole film for like a whole
Yeah,
album.
we just did that actually. So for 3, we made the entire album is a short film. It got into some film festivals too, which was really exciting, like Toronto International Film Festival and things like that. But it's a new thing, so people don't necessarily know what to do with it. There's not really a category anywhere that fits into. It's almost like if you'd imagine that there was a movie and then they turned off all the sound and then a band just played music over it, and there's no dialogue, it's just the music. So it was a really fascinating kind of thing to take on. Where we started was, I hated music videos. I thought they were like silly advertisements for bands. I didn't find them to be meaningful. There was a few that I did, but it felt like the business as a whole was often churning out these videos where there was like a fan blowing on you and you looked really serious, and it was just a strange world, you know. And I felt like Pearl Jam made some really cool music videos, and there was a few examples of bands that sort of tried to tell some stories with how they did it. But then I saw Lemonade, and I also saw from Beyonce, and then I saw Florence and the Machine did a 6 or 7 part video series, and both of those women really impressed upon me how much the visuals can assist the storytelling and can really tell it even better. So we started with our first album where the videos felt like sort of an obligation, excuse me, an obligation. And then Cleopatra, we worked with this great director, Isaac Ravi Shankara, who was actually like a rocket scientist, and then he went to Harvard and then started making music videos, and has done that for a long time now. So he really helped with like putting that all together, those string of videos on the album Cleopatra, which I think came out beautiful. And then our last record was called 3, and that was where we said that was really enjoyable and sort of gratifying to be able to tell a story visually. Let's not just do it with 4 songs, let's do it with all 10 songs, the whole album. And so we did, and it was like a huge undertaking. It was like shooting a movie. It was 15 days of shooting and casting and everything. And but yeah, it was really gratifying. And I think the biggest part is, like I alluded to earlier, you can write an album about a breakup, but if you don't sometimes show people that it's about a breakup, they won't always piece that together. So that album 3 was about a family dealing with addiction. It was about my wife's family, her mother, and some of my experiences with it and her experiences. And it was something that in America, at least, it's very widespread. You know, there's a lot of addiction, and there's also happens to be a taboo around it. So no one's really talking about it. And so part of, I guess, I don't know if it's the intent of the record, but I think it was like in my heart, I just wanted to get it out there that this was happening, because I think a lot of people hide it. And if one person shares, it might cause someone else to open up. And maybe it's less of a heavy burden if at least we can talk about it and address it. So it was really gratifying. And then as far as you'd asked about the sound, I think the sounds evolved just based on the instruments that end up in our hands. You know, I bought an electric guitar on the first tour that I started playing all the songs on. It was this Guild. Might have it around. Yeah, it's right here.
Oh yeah.
It's like, this is one of them. I have like a dozen of these because I'm still trying to find one that matches the sound of the one I really like. And so that one I play on Gloria. But we sort of, we love the sound of a really upright piano, like a really shoddy sounding upright piano. It's just a lot of humanity in that. And then we like the sound of, that's an electric guitar, but it's called a semi-hollow body. So it's not super thick. It's more like thin, and we'll mic that and not plug it in. So like, it has this very strange to us, like raw, kind of vulnerable sound. And that's what we've been stuck on for a little while now. It's just, you get a little bit into a sound and it's like, it starts to fit all the songs that you're writing. So who knows what's next, but for now it's gone from acoustic guitars because we were busking. So we were playing like, you know, sidewalks and a lot of house shows where you couldn't plug in anyway, or the neighbors would complain. Yeah. And now we can plug in. So there's more options as you go. Just, it's almost like based on the rooms you're playing.
Nice. Yeah, man. And since you mentioned earlier about, you know, fan interpretations of some of your music, I wanted to specifically talk about, like, you know, just some of the way that the Lumineers have interacted with social media, and like specifically, you know, Lumineers tattoo, like that's, you know, like a hashtag, that's a series that you guys do. I guess I just generally wanted to get your take on, you know, how you respond to your fans and interact with them. And yeah, like, I mean, specifically with Lumineers tattoo, like, how do you feel about, you know, does it blow your mind that, you know, like people have like your words, like, you know, on their skin, like permanently?
Yeah, it's pretty weird. I would say it feels like the ultimate like allegiance to a band and a compliment. It's like flattering that someone felt strongly enough about something you wrote or sung that they got it on their body permanently. It was in a way, it was interesting to see the lines that people gravitate towards. And I see a lot of like people persevering, and they tend to gravitate towards lyrics that are about hope and perseverance, which, you know, gives me hope, I guess. I'm a sort of a optimist, even if the lyrics don't always show that. I really believe in the good of people. So I think of it as the ultimate form of flattery, but I never really have gotten fully used to it. You know, we meet fans at shows that if they have a tattoo and they let us know, they usually come meet us at the show. And it's still like a very crazy thing, because I remember being a fan of certain bands where, you know, if I got a tattoo of them and then I could meet them and take a picture, that would like be a highlight of my life. And now I meet people and I'm like, I can't connect that dot. My ego won't let me. Like, I'm just like, all right, nice to meet you. I'm a human being. You're a human being. Thank you for liking what we do. Thank you for being here. Because otherwise it just seems like you're going to go a little crazy. So I almost like shut that part of my mind off, and I just try to remind them of each other's humanity. And they don't have to, some people get nervous, and you just, you have empathy for them, because I've been in the opposite end of that, where I'm meeting someone that I really like and admire, and then you get mixed reactions from them. Sometimes they're nice, and sometimes they're a little bit like, all right, get away from me, I'm done with you. So try to be real warm and welcoming. And I grew up in New Jersey, where Bruce Springsteen was like the hero of the state. And there's everyone who ever met him has a Bruce Springsteen story, and it's always that he was really kind. And and open. And I think because of that, he could live a relatively normal life. Like he could just go out and people just say, "Hey, what's up, Bruce?" And he says, "Hey." It's not this whole like they mob him. And I think that's pretty cool. Like I heard so many stories, but this was pre-COVID, but that he likes to work out. And so he would just go to local gyms on his tours and somehow get a workout in. Even though he's Bruce Springsteen walking around a gym, you'd think he just would never get a minute because everyone just keep coming up to him, but they give him a space. And I live in Denver, and I know at times I can tell now, a lot of times if someone looks at you for an extended second, you're like, oh, I've been noticed. But most people are really nice if they do come up. So it's I feel really lucky that way. But it is something where it's hard for me to grasp because I spent, I think, a lot more time in anonymity and sort of crawling and clawing my way through, just trying to write songs and get heard. And now I'm getting spoiled with all this, like, more attention than I could have asked for. And it's a little bit more like, okay, let's slow down a little bit. So we're so I think I found a good place in Denver because it's chilled out that way.
I guess, yeah, since I'm calling from India and you guys are going to be having this virtual show at the NH7 Weekender festival, like, I guess I just wanted to ask about, even though you're performing virtually, can you tell me a bit about the set that you're crafting for the festival and just, if a trip to India is on the cards once it's feasible, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why we wanted to do this is because India has been a place we've wanted to not only visit as, tourists and lovers of like new places and travel, but we wanted to see if we could ever play cities there and tour there. Just seems like from the people who I know who have visited, it's such a big place. So visited certain parts. It's just been a life-changing experience. So I think for that reason, I've always wanted to do it. So with regards to the set, I took the approach of just trying to come up with, if I'd never heard us, what songs would you play for them? So it would be for like the person at a festival walking by that you want to try to stop them and get them to stay for a little longer. So it's a lot of the songs that I think we've realized feel more immediate. And then if people like that, they can come and check out like hopefully more music, and you can go deeper into the albums. But this is more like, this is our first date kind of you want to pull out the stops and just show people the songs off the last 3 records that you feel like have taken you the farthest.
Right. All right, Wesley, thank you so much for taking the time out. It's been great talking to you. Hopefully we'll see
you too. Yeah, hopefully we can meet in person sometime. That'd be cool out there.
Yeah. All right. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Olivia. Thank you, Z.